actually rename this. It's online. Going live. It's going live. Basic info. 4888. I think we're 4888.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And apparently that's live. Okay, so so my process is that I've been reading through the reports and I'm watching the videos, presentations, and grading those, and then thinking of, as I said, the additional questions around the topic areas and anything I thought you might not have covered well in the report. And then so on Monday, what we do is we go through and I will ask you questions about what you've written and fill in the blanks if I feel there was something that you didn't comment on, right? And I'll also give you some feedback about that in the exam. And I'll ask you also questions around the associated technologies, right? Because one of the things to think about is say, for example, you're doing locomotion, right? So I could be asking you about other locomotion systems, right? So you do talk about them in your report. So yeah. It's one of the, what are the competing technologies? And if you cover it extremely well in the report, I might not need to ask you a question about it, right? But if you haven't covered it well, I'll ask you, and it's kind of, if you know it but you didn't write it, then that's good. That's fine, right? You can get those marks. I'll generally also ask a question about game technologies and things about the future. So some of your perspectives on where things are heading, right? So having heard the other things that people are doing and watched the other videos, which I'll need to grab. So I've started making my list of the 7 or 8 videos for you guys to watch, and I'll put that out today with links, because all of you were giving me links to YouTube. I think one person uploaded it directly in Blackboard, so I'll have to export that to an appropriate format in some way, and give you guys all links to have a look this afternoon and Friday, and potentially over the weekend. Watch the about, I suppose there are total about 2.5 hours of videos, maybe a little bit too, from everyone, right? And then it's to, having looked at that material and thought about game technologies in general, to have some questions around where you think it's going and what you think is coming next, that sort of thing, right? So you should be thinking about game technology, thinking about the future of technology. We then, as I said before, part of the reason to give you guys those videos to watch is that we can have a bit of a discussion around the other technologies that you saw in the course. And at that point, it's a kind of, well, you know, having seen those, having tried one yourself and having seen other people try technologies, questions around, are any of those, what do you see of the potential for those, what do you see of the challenges for them, that kind of discussion around technology in general for the use in games, right? So that was so that's basically what we do on Monday. I've given you 25 minutes, it'll probably be 20 minutes. I'll try and keep you guys to 20 minutes and then have a 5-minute handover, right? So I think all of you have signed up. I think I saw all of your names come through, signing up for Monday. Did I see your name, Jan?
Where?
Signing up for Monday for the doodle poll.
Yeah,
picking a time. I think I saw all of your names come through my email saying this person has participated. So yeah, so in terms of the course, one of the things we're also supposed to do, which I've been terrible at, is doing reviews of courses and kind of working out, are we like as a class, what we should have done better and whether we were meeting learning objectives and did you learn things, right? So these are the student review sessions, right? They do seem a little bit odd with a smaller class because you guys are here, and generally I think if there are problems you would, it's kind of, we do try and listen to you when you have a problem, But this is an opportunity to say and go through that process of saying, okay, with this course, it's fairly self-directed. You guys choose your topics and choose the way, like whether it's going to be a report or whether it's going to be a project. Now, what I could have done better from my review of the course is that I needed to give you more feedback on what you had been doing as you went along, right? So that would have been the improvement that I can see would have happened. This is going to be very interesting to do next year because I'll be doing this course next year from New Zealand.
Yeah.
So we're going to have morning meetings, and I'm going to be in the evenings, and everything will be done online. So we won't actually have physical meetings. It'll be entirely everybody collecting around probably a Discord server with video chat from me in New Zealand, and discussing projects and presenting projects, and everything will be done by recording videos and presenting videos to the group, and then having us comment at the forum. So that will be a quite different course, right? So unfortunately, this could feedback on the course the way it runs now is
not that important.
not critical, right? Because it's like yes,
Totally changed.
Yeah, it's going to totally change. But what do you think we should do differently? Because you've had this one in the mobile course, right? So the mobile course is also run in a similar way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've actually run pretty much in a very similar way.
Yes. So any comment you make about this could also be a comment about the mobile.
Yeah. Well, you did discuss in the beginning that we were supposed to have presentations.
Yes, we were hoping you guys would present things.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
we ran out of doing that, so we ended up doing the videos things,
Yeah.
which is a way of doing a presentation. Do you guys prefer doing the video or actually standing up and talking in front of people?
No, I can do either. But doing a video just makes it so that you can
Do it again.
do it
Do it
again.
more
You can do it at home,
Polish it.
You could polish it a little bit.
and it doesn't actually, and it can sort of have a deadline rather than. Oh, you're gonna do it then. Oh, who wants to do it next week? Oh, okay, you do it then,
Right.
and so on.
Yeah.
Because you might not actually have read it up to that, to the standards you want it to be.
So, Jan, what's your thoughts?
Well, I don't know. I just had problems with knowing whether there is a lecture or not.
Yep.
Which annoyed me quite much.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
It's been a very disrupted semester. So, yep.
That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, a bit more communication would have been good. Like knowing when the technology changes and stuff like that. But that's it.
Well, me, I was quite inactive in Discord. That's why when I just logged in, I received all the news at once. All the news starting from the exam, so I had it on the report and everything. I knew it like a week and a half like before.
Mhm.
But still, the work was already applied. But still, I could have been more active in that area, or at least I was expecting to have a lot of notifications in Blackboard.
Right. Yeah. So more actively use of Blackboard would be what you're looking for.
And possibly more information about the course as well, because you can be sort of bad at giving written instructions for things and so on.
Yeah. So,
And that would work also for the next year's course.
Yeah.
They're gonna still use Blackboard.
they're still going to have Blackboard, and we're going to have a lot of distance communication. So it has to be very active distance communication.
And most probably there's gonna be more students since it's gonna be online.
Well, I have no idea. I have no idea what will happen next year. So, and I know we're in that process of unwrapping me out of all the courses I'm involved in, and that's a challenge because there are just too many. So, and yeah, in terms of deadlines and workload, you're not alone in being neglected. So if that makes it doesn't make it any better, but there are reasons for it. Okay, so in terms of the exam, is there anything else you would like to have in the exam? What would you like to be examined on?
Easy stuff.
Arithmetic.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. Should already know most of the things already through going through a lot of it. But then again, you should consider that not everyone is a game student.
No, not everyone's a game student. There are a bunch of students who have come in who this is their first thing related to games that they've ever done. Yep.
Yeah, so the questions can't be
too specifically game. No, they are, which is why I try and be more about the technology rather than just sort of game design specific. Though it is useful to think about how games use the particular technologies, right? So the VR locomotion games use that obviously. Teleportation activities. You've got the obvious sandbox game approach, and the kind of understanding how games work approach. So so those your four are quite game connected. So that's quite good. Okay, so now Jan, you're about to head away. You're only here for a semester, or you're here for a year?
Only one semester.
Right, only one semester. Right, okay. And then you're heading back to Germany. So you're doing your thesis next?
I've done my thesis.
That's right. Yes, you've done your thesis, and you're just
to do some smaller courses until I'm done.
right. Okay. So this was partly a pick up interesting things semester abroad. Okay, and
go away and enjoy.
Meet random people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've met some random people.
Yeah.
And I think the sandbox stuff you did is quite fun. So and hopefully you've built a large number of your own videos to show people, right? Because it's much harder to actually spin up the code. So
yeah, I'm not sure how or whether I'm going to present that anyway at home, because I have this one video and a few pictures. I mean, it's easy to show if you're there, like dig in the sand and then you see it, but otherwise
it's quite a tangible activity, that one. So but if you're interested in continuing on, then there will be you may well be able to find someone in your region who has a sandbox. And the Science Centre, I've been fighting with their computer and I can't get it to install Linux. I can't get it to boot at all, right? It boots and it comes up with the BIOS comes up, and then it goes to loading media from USB and then just freezes. And it does that with Windows media or Linux media or
Is there hardware problems with that?
At this point, I believe it's a hardware problem.
Yeah.
But so okay. The other thing is for the course. So more communication would be better. Is needed. Knowing when the sessions are going to be, and a greater advance notice, though. Yeah. I sometimes don't get much advance notice of things changing, but so that would be useful. In terms of the learning outcomes, do you feel you learned stuff about game technologies, about the technology you were working with?
Yeah.
So there was a reasonable amount of learning that happened. So
at least in the most part, making the video and making the report, then you have to do most of the learning.
And I believe it's also useful to have learned how to do your videos online and make your videos that way, just from getting used to the tools, because we're going to do more and more of that, I think, in the future.
That was quite a good initiative, because I never thought of making a video, but now I know.
Now you've got the tools, the basics of actually doing it that way. And there are some conferences that are coming up, and they are becoming more popular, where instead of having everybody stand and you present, is that you make videos and you submit a video rather than a paper. So rather than writing a 4-page or a 12-page paper, you submit a 15-minute video, and the proceedings are the videos. And so you can get those beforehand, and they actually have, the actual sessions are more discussions about the videos rather than presentations. So they're looking at how they can swap that round to get a higher percentage of the conference done as discussion rather than presentation. So
way better, I guess, because presentation takes more time, and in discussion you get more learning.
Yeah, and I mean, if for the majority of content, sitting and watching the presentation beforehand is, that's the same as being in the room, except you don't get to ask questions. And so, can we just get flipped?
But in the discussion area, then the
Yeah.
questions are made.
Yeah. So you're trying to flip classrooms. So
Yeah, like for me, at least for like the technology part, I haven't learned too much.
Right.
What I'm mostly focusing on is learning the research and writing part, because I know that's the part that I'm not
weak
the best
at.
at.
Yep. So for you, you would like me to give some fairly verbose feedback on your writing.
Yes.
Right. So that would
Because
be the.
I do need to know what's wrong so I can fix it, because
Right.
there are things because I'm not good at writing
And
long and drawn out papers, which people have a tendency of doing. I like to write things short, but I can't really do that because
it's a thesis.
usually people think that you need a lot of pages to explain things, but you don't usually have to. But my mind works like that. I can absorb information in short paragraphs rather than long paragraphs.
So you'd like quite a lot of feedback on the writing style.
Yeah.
Feedback. What would be your?
I'm done with writing.
You're done with writing, yeah.
Yeah.
You're more having
I learned stuff about programming and C++ and stuff. So.
I know. I think Open Frameworks is quite interesting as a platform for doing
really good thing.
a bunch of
You
different.
see in my report that I really like Open Frameworks.
Yeah, yeah. No, so Open Frameworks, I think, and actually, not just for this project, but for other video-based projects or anything using that open
If you're
stack
using
of tools.
CV,
Yeah.
I mean, instead of using OpenCV, just use Open Frameworks, and you get all this other stuff for free.
Yeah. So it's really nice. It's a nice tool. And it to some extent also that philosophy of let's bring in together all of these open libraries. Let's try and build a platform that you can build on top of from all the open platforms. So. Writing, you'd like feedback on the writing because you're writing a thesis next semester.
Yes.
So you two want a lot of feedback on the writing style and yep, okay.
See if it was like in my case it was a systematic review, so if it fits the standards of a review or what can be.
What can we improve for that systematic review? Yep.
Yeah, I think like on my reports, I think I spent quite a lot of time on the implementation and explaining that. I'm not sure if that's kind of too drawn out or I'm being too picky.
Well, for this course, it's fine, right? Because it's focused as a technology course, and therefore the implementation is the critical part. But for your thesis, you do have to be careful of not to kind of have too much implementation, because you'll be graded more on your analysis and your reflection and your understanding than just your implementation, right? So fantastic implementation gets you to the C, right? But to get into that B and A range, you need to be analytical, and you need to bring, particularly when you do the background section, right? So with the literary review, one of the big transitions that you need to make is going from doing background research and summarizing what other people have done to integrating what they've done with your question, right? So always be looking at why is this particular paper relevant to my research, right? So rather than just saying, like finding a bunch of papers that have the same keywords, and then just summarizing them and saying, well, my background is the summary of what other people have done, and then I'm just going to tell you what I've done, right? That's what we do at bachelor's level. At master's level, you have to provide the reader with the why this particular piece of research is relevant to your particular problem, right? So it's more
Yeah.
of showing that connection, right? Rather than just sort of implying it by saying, well, I wouldn't have reviewed it if it wasn't relevant. And the answer is yes, but you're supposed to tell us why you believe it's relevant, right? We as experts know why we think it's relevant, but you've got to show us that you've become an expert and you've been able to show us why it's relevant and how it's relevant, right? So that integration between your background research and your your discussion and your implementation, and showing that you're reflected on the reasons why you chose to do things, right? So rather than just saying I did this and I did this, and this was a challenge, so I did this, trying to reflect on what helped you make a decision, right? So when you come to one of those decision points, either it's you read a research paper, you did an experiment, you queried you queried a lecturer, and you report on the discussion you had. And those discussions should be help you decide why you believe, like why you made the decision, right? So it's not that you go to the lecturer and say, well, what should I do? And the lecturer says, do A, and you go, I did A because I was told to do A, right? Yeah, they've got to say, well, we discussed A versus B. A is more efficient, or is like there's a reason why A was chosen, right? So even if the lecturer tells you do A, don't just accept that. You need to make sure that you say, okay, why are we doing A? Right? You take ownership of the decisions in your thesis, right? So it's that kind of analysis that becomes more important, and that's how you get graded. So Jan's already done his thesis. Those were the similar things you were told.
Like make clear what is mine and what is from others. Like really make that clear.
And your contribution.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that you'll most likely get from your external as a question is in the thesis defense will be things like, what is your contribution? Right? And to some extent, starting thinking about that now, right, before you even start writing it up, is right. I've got to think. I'm going to make a contribution. What is my Can I try and keep an eye out for when I'm making a contribution, right? And then document it well at the time. It makes it much easier to write about it later. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of that, so basically, more time spent from me in this course would be what would make the course better. I think is probably more time and better communication. Yep. Okay, so do you guys have any other feedback that you want to give me, or any comments about what? So the exam format, you understand what we're going to do for the exam?
Yeah.
Yep.
I assume it's like the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've done oral exams with these guys have had oral exams with us before. So in those ones where we were picking options between topic areas, this is more an exam about what you've done in your technology area, right? And depending on your tech, I will try and ask you things that you might not have commented about in your paper, right, that are related to technology, just to kind of probe your general understanding of the area as well. Okay, so yep. Okay, so if there's not anything more there, I will deal with them, and then I'll get that sheet out before I go. I'm away for another meeting.
Oslo.
Yeah. Tonight, so where Runa's driving, but I'll get this out before we leave at 10:30. I'll finish getting the links to the videos together, so you guys have those, so you can watch them. You can choose to watch them this afternoon or on Friday, or on the weekend. Though I don't want to force you to have to watch work stuff on the weekend.
For the discussion part of the exam, talking about future technology.
Yes, and discussing what other technologies are interesting in the area, right? So this is that second bit, right? Which isn't like half the exam, but it's the second bit of the exam, which is about a more general discussion on game technologies, right? And using the videos that you guys have made as examples of other recent understanding of technology. So, and if there are things you don't understand from the videos, then or you find interesting, you could look them up as well, right? So you don't just have to go, oh well, they didn't explain that well, so I didn't care. If there's something you find interesting, then yes, do a wee research on it. What else? So what else, you've got the mobile exam? I think was pushed back to like
11th.
the 11th of December.
Something like that.
11
Yep.
or 12.
And what else have you guys got due? You've got
The
the
report due to the 30th.
Yeah, that's the mobile report.
right. Yep.
And then we have the advanced project work is the 19th.
19th of December.
And
Okay.
project planning is 15th.
15th, I think.
Okay.
So it's far right.
Contract.
Right.
Is after.
Yeah. So
New
the
Year.
idea is that we get this one out of the way on Monday, and then you guys can focus on other things.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now, Jan, you're doing a bunch of weird stuff, so you've not got the same.
Cybersecurity.
Yeah. So you've got the.
Yeah, I had it on Monday, I think. But in Tuesday.
Yeah. So which courses are you doing? You're doing.
Cybersecurity,
Yep. Cybersecurity and.
Norwegian course. But this one is done, and repertoire planning.
Yep. Yep. So now you did the hackathon thing and won prizes and stuff.
Yeah, I need to do one feature jam, like
Right.
one solo jam, and then I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and they just have to be done sometime, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's got, so yeah, there's the internationals are doing the Major League one-day
But
hackathon
that-
thing.
Like it has to be a solo jam, right? My third jam.
Well, so I've so I was trying that this year as a thing, and it's useful to do a solo jam, though I think I'm going to ease the requirement of making it has to be
The thing
by
is,
yourself.
I don't think a 12-hour jam makes sense. And
Well,
I want to work on the sandbox.
yep.
So
So you're going to do a sandbox, yep, jam. So which would make sense. And I mean that like I think there's some really interesting opportunities in the sandbox for.
we should talk about what I should do.
Yeah, because Tom's been working over it in the last few days. Tom's been trying to get his medical imaging stuff up and going, and was fighting some of the calibration and stuff.
Did he scrap the calibration thing?
Oh no, he's been working on the calibration as well, right? So he's been working on the calibration, but
2 projects?
yes.
Well,
So he has a second project on the medical. So the first one is the calibration, which at least I think open frameworks provide you a better way of plugging things in than the old system.
yes.
But the other one he's looking at is the 3D rendering. So first is to do
Yeah, the digging into CT scans.
digging into 3D scans. Yeah. So he's also working on that. And I think there are a bunch of weird stuff that you could do, and once you've got that working nicely, a bunch of three-dimensional data that becomes interesting, and even I could imagine some sort of Dune-like game where you're having to hunt the worm that's running around under the sand, and you've got to dig into it, and you've got to kind of find the thing. So there's those sort of things which could be quite interesting variants on games. And yeah, I think the rapid prototyping, I was thinking of an AR VR game jam, and that being one of the interesting ones to do a game jam on. But okay, so yep, with that, I think yeah. Last year we had a far more structured presentation approach to this course. This year we've done more you guys doing your own thing and going away and doing those. That's partly due to just the issues of workload and sort of courses and me leaving, creating their own significant problems for trying to work out what to do next year. But I know if you have learnt things, then of course that's our main priority is what you've learnt. And so if we can give you feedback on, you two definitely want writing feedback on how to improve your writing, and so that will given got the 2-day meeting now, it'll be over the weekend. Then I'll be writing that long feedback up, right? But we'll have the exam on Monday, and we'll have an idea of that grade. But then I can give you more feedback over next week on writing, and to some extent we can either just do that kind of in writing, and I'll write up some of my comments, but it would also be interesting to have you come in and actually sit and discuss back and forth dialogue around the writing, and because sometimes the written stuff can go back and forth quite a lot before it's useful. And also, if you're not particularly worried, I won't give you long form feedback on your writing
Just
style.
general feedback would be nice.
General feedback would be nice, yeah.
I mean, I can use the grade if it's better than what I have at home. I can use it, but otherwise.
Okay, you even don't really care that much about the grade. Okay.
No, I do. This is the course where I actually care about the grade.
Okay, yeah. No, I think
the other I just need to pass.
Yeah, I think you actually did quite a lot, and I think you produced something that was pretty cool. So, so I think that is useful, and yeah, the discussion around open frameworks is interesting as well. So.
Okay, I didn't discuss that much. Just mentioned that it's cool.
Well, I might ask you some exam questions around that then. around the open frameworks and what your thoughts are. Okay, so any other questions? No? Okay.
So next week discussion maybe on the writing.
Yes. So
Time.
yeah. So I do have time next week, right? Because everything suddenly stops.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Because it's been.
more on our lecture.
You go. So yes, no, and then though my wife is also getting to the point where it's got to stop. It's got to. Yeah. So yeah. So next week is good. So I'll give you written full feedback around things, but we should come and have a discussion. I would say probably the Tuesday morning is still a good time to do that for me. So if we now you can either do it individually or we can do it as a group. What's your preference? Do you want to listen to me discuss writing with other people?
I wouldn't mind.
I don't care either way.
Well, so what we'll do is I'll make it an open discussion session where you guys can turn up from 9 o'clock, and I'll start with whoever is here at 9. I'll start discussing their writing.
Could you check the YouTube chat? Anthony wrote something.
Oh, the YouTube chat. We've got YouTube chat. Okay, so the chat. 4 are watching. Hello, 4 watching. But where do I go to get to the chat? Live chat. Yes. Anthony Richard. For me, I didn't really like the concept of making a video myself. I think it's mainly because I'm used to doing live presentations. Fair enough. But it's an interesting format when it comes to understanding what the others have done. Okay. Yep. And that's perfectly reasonable feedback. And so I know you guys have given some presentations before, right? So you gave your bachelor's thesis presentations, and you've done some presentations in classes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so when you guys are giving presentations, do you read the audience or do you just present your material?
I just present the material. Of course, if I see that, oh crap, people are sort of glazing over, I'll start explaining more about what I'm actually talking about.
Okay.
Because there are certain cues that people give when they don't understand.
Yes, one is the glassy eye going.
Yeah.
What the?
But yeah, I also seem very enthusiastic when I talk.
Right.
Which also sort of helps others be more engaged in what I'm talking about.
It does. It does. So yeah, the I suppose for me the difference between doing a live presentation and presenting to a camera is the difference between doing television and doing theatre, right? So doing live theatre feels very different to doing television work, because with live theatre, when you make a joke, you hear the laughter, right? And when you're serious, you can feel the seriousness in the room, right? Whereas when there's just this piece of machinery looking at you, you're getting nothing back, right? It's just any kind of enthusiasm you have just sinks into the machine, and it just sits there passively being a computer. So it's quite a different experience from a presenter's point of view.
It felt like you feel every mistake even worse. Like if you just did a speaking mistake and there's shit, I need to do the video again. I was doing it with OBS, so I need to start from the start again.
Yeah, no.
In the presentation, just glance over it and just continue talking.
Yeah. So as you've seen with our like with the stuff we do, I just keep going and I've given up on. So that was actually an interesting discussion we had around the use of technology and videotaping. Is if you go to the effort of putting on a front material slide and an end slide and some intro music and then going through and cutting out the ums and the ers and the bits where you got wrong, right? That can suck a lot of time, right? It feels like initially, I'll just put whack on something on the front and whack something and it'll be fine. And then you start doing that and you start editing and then like 3 hours later you go, I've just used 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've actually added 3 hours of value to the video. I've made it better, but is it more useful to the people actually watching it, or is it just slightly nicer and puts me in a nicer light and makes me look less incompetent?
Like I tried in the beginning to do it, did first the introduction because then I messed up, then I'll do the next part in a separate video and then try and just
merge the two.
Yeah, but that turned out to be just a fucking hassle. Like the video formats weren't correct. They were in AVI and Windows Movie Maker doesn't take that file format, so it had to convert everyone, and then those programs didn't.
Where did you find Windows Movie Maker?
You can get it on the Windows Store or Microsoft Store.
Oh yeah, that's not the original.
Yeah, no.
I've looked for it and there is no Windows Movie Maker for Windows 10. Just knockoffs.
Yeah, getting proper video editing programs is just fucking hassle.
Yeah. Mac has quite a few, but
yeah, of course. That's what they do.
But that's what they do. So, and
so just did it in one piece, in one go, and
don't worry about the sound. You pick things up and put things down, and so basically, I'm not expecting high video. I wasn't expecting high video quality, right? I wasn't expecting lots of hours spent doing that because I was expecting more like what we do here, which is more like this. So Anthony is saying I totally agree. And there is also the fact that when you make a demonstration with a prototype, for example, it's way easier to explain what you're doing live rather than on a video.
Yes, because you can actually have questions.
Yes, because you don't know what people are finding difficult when you're.
Go you know what I mean, and if they are just staring, you can expand, and if they just
nod, you can move on. Except the computer doesn't nod at you.
Yeah.
Stupid computer! You should be nodding.
Should be motor.
Yeah, motorized shell. But yeah, so it is. That is very tricky, right? And so it's one of the things that I'm interested in trying to work out how we do better.
You can always pause and rewind, but that may not help you.
I wrote that in the conclusion, but how I did my video was I had a few parts, where I did actual demo. That were separate videos, which I just then spliced into my whole video. And I think it's a good thing for presentation in general. If you're presenting something interactive, like this is so interactive, just prepare a few videos, and you don't have to do a live demo, and it wouldn't even be possible with a sandbox.
No.
And then you can do a presentation, and either have a full video with sound, or just have a video and narrate it in the presentation.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good thing to show interactive media and interactive stuff in such a static medium as a presentation.
Yes, yeah, and I think
I think I will do that in the future because I think it worked well. Yeah,
and so splicing those vignettes, those videos of you doing something, and getting used to doing that, and the problem we have, and I've seen this many times with our game students, is that because games are very interactive, you either try and do a live demo in the presentation, right, which can be really hassle, right?
Something doesn't work,
Something doesn't work, and so actually making a gameplay video of your interaction and we've started to
We did that for a bachelor because when we tried to start it crashed. And
Yay!
I just posted it.
Yeah, yeah. And so as part of the presentation, actually having video of the interaction is quite useful and quite important, I would say. So yeah. No, I'm. Do you want to give feedback to each other on your videos? Because what we could do is we could use I could whack them into the curate system, and so I could actually put them up there and give links to them from the curate system, and then you could add questions or comments to each other's, or we could put them in the wiki and you could add questions or comments to each other. Do you want each other's feedback?
I think everybody will too lazy to actually,
to actually do it, right? So I might create the opportunity, but without any reason to do it.
If you look at the wiki,
Yep. People didn't put a lot in the wiki, no.
It's nothing besides what we did on the first meeting.
One the stuff, basically the information I put in, it was most of the information that went in.
I think no one updated.
Yeah. Well, and it was an opportunity to do it, but you're busy actually working.
Yeah.
So
I know what I can do. I can sort of compile general advice because I do something about it. So
right.
I know I've seen his video.
Yep.
There's something I know from his video that he could do differently, which is he could add the demonstration to the end rather than have it in the middle, because that would be a lot better. I think, for example.
Right. For your feedback.
So at least one person who wants to give feedback.
Well, yeah, but that's enough feedback. So it's like single comment feedback rather than long form feedback. It's one of those things, like I was telling my son was refusing to go to birthday parties because it was too loud and too noisy, and I said, well, if you don't go to other people's birthday parties, they won't come to yours. So it's kind of if you want feedback on your presentation from other people, then it's useful to give them feedback on their presentations. So it kind of depends on how important you feel getting feedback is for you, and then doing that as an agreement between you guys as students and as people working. So yeah, I know we can try and force you to do those sort of things, but forcing you to do it doesn't necessarily mean it's good quality feedback. It's just, I'm going to have to say something, so I'll say something. Yeah, so forced feedback isn't necessarily.
The video is okay.
Yeah, see, you did feedback. Woohoo! Yeah. So no, keeping some of those things optional, and more about the collegial work that you guys do. But I think what you guys have been doing is interesting, right? And I think it should be interesting to the rest of the class. So hopefully, as I get these videos up between now and 10:30, you guys can watch it over the next couple of days. And if there is feedback you want to give, then next week you can probably talk to each other just over the week, because some of you will be seeing each other as you work together towards trying to get things done, or do you all work individually?
We mostly work individually.
Right.
I know. Although we, like me, Jan, and
we're in the
Björn,
same VR lab.
sometimes sometimes in the VR lab and so on.
Yeah. So
each in their own room.
yeah, it's probably useful to talk to each other a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, I usually talk to Björn.
Yeah. So yeah. So it'd be good to kind of bring some people into those discussions to help with understanding. Okay, right. Well, I'll go and compile that list of videos. Finish compiling the list of videos and send it out to you guys. And we'll see you on Monday. Is that all right, Richard? People online, I see there's 4 of you watching. Is anybody there?
It might be a delay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Richard's given 3 YouTube chat comments, so he's obviously listening. And their comments related to what I'm saying, so that's...
Yeah. He was asking me to.
So make sure I check the chat, so I'm checking the chat, But, okay, so we'll see you guys on Monday, and I'll write a bit longer format for you guys on the writing style, and then we'll have a meeting next Tuesday. Do you want Tuesday, or is later in the week better?
Yeah, Tuesday's fine.
Tuesday fine? We can...
if it's early in the morning, it might work. Or probably maybe not, because I have the image processing lecture then.
Alright. So no, they're all popping in saying yes, I'm here, and yes, and so hopefully you guys all understand anything, because my battery's about to run out, so I'm going to go in and plug in, and we'll see you either physically here on Monday